up, everybody? This is We're back with another video. You know, hump day. Give me 1 second. All right. So anyway, so I just wanted to give a quick little update. So I've seen the full video from Mr. Fantastic, um, and as far as the video, I put it in the community tab. So if you want to check it out, definitely check it out. So I'm just hang out with y'all for a minute while I'm doing something. And I want to give kind of like my thoughts. Now that I've seen the kind of whole video from pretty much from start to finish, I want to give my thoughts on what I have heard. So basically, this is a video that references a conversation that was happening a couple of days ago. Most of y'all have already seen my first video on it, but it was buffering. It was doing a lot of crazy shit. So I'll probably delete that video soon. But I did want to go through some of the comments that some of you all had with it as well, because you all had great comments, but I wanted to give some clarification on some things, because I could tell by the way some of you all took it. I wanted to reiterate some things that I've already been saying. So I'm going to start this video the same way I started the last video, by talking about the international element. Let me be very clear. I'm not one of these dudes. I'm not saying what somebody can say and not say. This is not me about telling somebody to shut up and listen and don't speak. If I say that, if I mean that, I'm going to say that. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. What I'm saying when it comes to the UK brothers, and these were ADOS dudes that were saying this, so nobody was getting triggered or anything. But when I say, I mean, you all folks have to keep in mind that when it becomes a back and forth between an American black woman and a non-ADOS black man, it's all, especially from the UK, it's always going to be seen as, it's always going to be something that can be easily dismissed, because it can just be written off as, you don't know our experience, and it kind of doesn't count. So it becomes a waste of time, because at the end of the day, like I said before, we don't have the shared experience. We just don't. So, and also, let's keep it real. You all, like, it's kind of like our women don't depend on you. This is not like you all talking. This is not like you all talking to you know, like black UK women. Like, this is where I'm gonna get kind of like Marco, as where are the channels where you all are going back and forth with your women, because that's the proximity you have to. It's kind of like you said, like you're already gone. So these women are not even trying to look to check for you anyway, because you're not there. You're not in the arena, so to speak. So there is no real threat. It's kind of like you all are speaking on behalf of us, and in their eyes, that makes it very easy for them to frame it like, oh, well, we don't represent ourselves. This is why O'Shea kind of responded the way he responded with the slang evil SYSBM thing, because it literally looks like other men are taking the lead in addressing shit that, number one, has really nothing to do with them from an arena proximity standpoint, because just like how it would be seen as, okay, if I live in the United States, I've never been to the UK, right? It would be like me getting on social media platforms in conversations. Yeah, I can lend my opinion on some things. I can lend my experience based on what happens in the US. But for me to take that and then make critical like analyses on what goes on in the UK, I don't know the dynamics of the UK. I just don't. What I know about, I mean, I know history and shit like that, but what I know as far as the social order of the UK has to do with what I see in movies and shit. I don't interact with a lot of black Brits, male or female. I've interacted with a couple thanks to, BGS for Women, You know, you got Jessica X, Vix, stuff like that. But those are women. I've probably interacted with probably more black, like mixed women from the UK than anybody else. I don't know. That's my point. I don't know enough to like I'm on the ground. It's kind of like me being in a plane trying to comment on some shit that I'm seeing, and it's like your viewpoint is not skewed enough for you to really have an accurate opinion. Even if I visit you, even like I've visited certain countries and I can say certain things based on certain stuff, but I don't know enough about it. And look, and y'all know me, I'm somebody that always has my foot down on shit, but I don't comment on what I comment on what I don't know. But like for example, when I was doing that, when we did that video and it was Ramil and they were talking about the hip hop shit. I listen to hip hop, but I listen to hip hop based on what I grew up with. I don't listen to this new trap shit. So I don't know everything about everything. That's why it seems like I have a little bit more interest in it. Otherwise, like people be like, why you ask about Meg? Because I'm interested. Because I've been out of the loop. You know, this shit affects what goes on now, especially with the zillennials. The younger millennials transition in zillennials, because that's where we're at right now. So I'm interested in it to get back in the loop. But I ask questions. This is why, you know, normally, like when Ty City was gaming me, I didn't sit there and have a back and forth. I had to prove that I'm smart, or I had to prove that if I don't know what I don't know, I want to know. And this is why I was asking great questions, because it allowed them to piggyback off of what I was saying as far as really answering certain things, which is actually a sign of somebody that actually knows how to follow flow of conversation. Even though I interrupt, it is what it is, but actually knows what needs to be done. The point is, we're not in the same shit. We're just not. And that's not saying nothing as far as being negative. This is like me trying to comment on certain social, like micro social dynamics in the UK. Like me trying to comment on the fact that I guess Nigerians and Jamaicans don't get along, even though to me, they genetically, Jamaicans are more derivative of Nigerians anyway. So they come from the same kind of, I get the tribes and stuff. I don't get, I mean, I get it, but I don't. Because as an FBA American, we were forged in one unit. So we look at things more phenotypical than we do tribal. We don't think in tribe in a black, not really. We don't even really think in class. We think in race more than anything. So my point is, when it becomes, it's one thing when the fellas are talking and the dudes are talking and everybody's giving their shared experience. It's another thing when you get one of these females on here that's on this bullshit, because really I'm not interested. Like, yeah, I can bring up women you know, and talk to them, but that shit, I mean, we already know probably anyway. My point is, when you get a woman like Faith on here, one of them, and you sit here and then now it becomes a back and forth with some UK brothers like on some shit, that shit doesn't matter. And she's gonna respond in kind. And it doesn't matter. And quite frankly, it's not helpful to the shit that we're trying to do and the exhibit A of what we're trying. It's like if you're going to court and you're calling in witnesses, every witness or every cross-examination has a purpose to win the case, or at least to establish what at least the case that the defense or prosecution is trying to make. And when you and see, I saw way too many back and forths with one or two UK brothers when it came to her that went on for like 2, 3, 4 minutes. That quite frankly, that shit doesn't matter. It doesn't, because if you say, "Well, this is why what are you talking about? You're in the UK. There is no we. That doesn't register. They're not trying to holler at you. Shit, shit. Black women barely talk to non-African, non-American blacks anyway. So it becomes a waste of time. That's what I'm saying. People are either gonna understand it or not understand it. I know Xanatos Clutch made a comment in there, because I actually got the comments up. And like I said, shout out to Clutch. He keeps it real. And I'm not gonna read his comment. Y'all go on that video as long, because I'll have it up probably for the rest of the day. But I'm not about to read comments. But my point is, that's what I'm saying. And I'm saying for brothers to actually have enough insight to understand that. That's all I'm saying. you you have to understand It ain't about what you have to understand. I mean, I'm saying it nicely. I'm gonna start being like kind of abrasive a little bit if I'm on these panels and that shit starts to happen when I'm on that bitch, because at the end of the day, we ain't getting nowhere, and the conversation's really not going nowhere because people want to. No, I'm gonna start cutting that shit off, even at the expense of being an asshole. No, I mean I'm really going to start. Like I've been kind of nice about it. But like, to be honest, I'm really going to start because my thing is that, like, y'all gotta, when you look at that, listen to that shit going back, y'all gotta understand that you're dealing with folks, most of these females, and it's not most of these females, like 80 to 90% of them are not on here to really have a conversation. They're on here to try to be right. And that is useful if you know how to communicate that in a video. But if it becomes like some random UK motherfuckers talking to some American black females, then we sitting here on the fucking sideline looking like an idiot. That's the issue. Now, I addressed that. Now let me move on to some better programming. Now, one thing that kind of jumped out on me on the video, and I listened to this yesterday, it was like what happened in the end when, Faith, I'm gonna jump around, but Faith was talking about, and people would say, "Why do we talk about this? Why do we give them this kind of energy?" We give them this kind. It's not about giving them attention. It's about commenting on the consistency and the pattern that you see with a lot of these women. She's one of those delegation broads, so I'm gonna comment on their mentality because this is just an extension of the original video Fantastic did with them. To be honest, that's what there's a purpose to this shit. It's about dudes. And for instance, I went at the general extremely hard because he on a couple of videos ago, because he was sitting there playing that some but not all bullshit, or that it's 70% of black men's fault. But at the same time, he was one of the main ones on the video on the video actually trying to check Faith. But the point is, he still didn't go far enough where he wanted to play I don't want to go in a rabbit hole thing. Well, she wants to go in a rabbit hole. She wants to play tit for tat because these women are operating like children. Even on the fucking delegation, these women reverted down to like little fucking girls. Maybe with the exception of like Shirley. The rest of them were talking like little children. That dark-skinned little girls that didn't get enough love from daddy or from the attention. This is what they revert to. If you actually listen to it, it's always where Rashida and all of them go back to. They always go back to their childhood. Now, if a man was doing that, like I'm sure, if I as a man was constantly reverting back to my childhood, I would be seen as socially inept, socially awkward, weak, because I didn't get over that shit. Because at the end of the day, kids will be kids. But women, for some reason, are allowed to take their little mommy and daddy issues and apply it even when they're damn me 40 years old plus. And then we actually cater to that shit like that's a social, like political issue. But anyway, fast forwarding. Faith wanted to say, this is one first comment. Faith stated that they were talking about abortion, and she was talking about children, and she wants to lean on I believe what's best for the child. Okay, let me say this, and let me be very clear. Most black women outside of their own biological imperative don't give a fuck about their children. Not really. And I said most. Ain't no some but not all, most but not all. Outside the value that their children give them chemically, biologically, which perkles up to basically emotional value and financial value, they could give a less about the kids. Abortions are proof of that. 15 million abortions are proof of that. So this idea about what's in the best interest of the child, black women don't really as a group have a right to even comment on that shit. They really don't. It's just like me talking about black men having standards. As a black man, I can say I have standards, but for me to act like black men as a group have a problem when it comes to dealing with women we just should not be dealing with, or we will fuck fat, obese, ogre women. Yeah, that's an L. If you claim to be black in America at ADOS, you got to hold that L. That's an L you got to hold. It's the same thing there. So when she keeps on talking about what's in the best interest of the child, this is something that a lot of sisters like to lean on to give them moral superiority. And this is not true. You can look at the state of that she will say that, but when you look at the state of black children, it's like that's none of their fault. That's all, and this I'm gonna go into the abandonment bullshit, but that's none of their fault. They do the best they can. And that's just some moral bullshit that black women lean on in order to have the mentality they like to have. And they can have that shit, but everybody knows whether they're black or not black. No, they're absolutely full of shit when they say that shit. Black women damn sure don't care about black boys. They really don't care about girls like that, but it's very vanity. That's the first thing I want to comment on is that bullshit. That what's in the best interest of the child. A lot of times what's in the best interest of the child is not to go with the mother. But women in general don't care about that. So to say that, to try to frame it like that, because this is something every black woman says. I believe in what's in the best interest of the child. No, I have not seen the sacrifices that have been made. 80% divorce rate. I don't see the sacrifices that get made to justify that position. That's just some shit that people like to say because it makes them feel good, and it doesn't. It really doesn't mean anything. Because when you look at black children, it is very obvious that black women don't give a shit about black children. It's very obvious. Very obvious. Black women give more of a fuck about the sanctity of black motherhood than they give a damn about the actual mothering that they're actually supposed to do. These are facts at like an 80% rate. As far as I'm concerned, if you choose to fuck a dude with no condom, you don't then have a right. There is no we. There is no we. We're talking about you. Women love to use we to interfere with you. Guess what? If you chose to have sex with a man without a condom, you basically chose that. You chose that man to be your child's father by default. And therefore, see, what women like, this is the game that women like to play. See, to a black, and this is how faith strikes me as. If I were to ask Faith this simple question, is there such a thing as a bad black mother? As a concept. Obviously, I would think she's not stupid, or obviously so. I would think she would say yes. I would ask her this question, and I know she'll hesitate. I would say, is there such a thing as a bad mother without a bad father? And I know she wouldn't know how to answer that question. Because in black female doctrine and gynocratic doctrine, a black woman cannot be a bad mother without a black man first not doing his responsibility. Now, a black man can be a bad father and be a deadbeat, but I don't believe for the most part black women really believe that black men can be deadbeats independently of like in an isolated incident. And to understand that is to understand Faith's idea, how Faith thinks. Faith believes, and this is Rashida believes this too, by the way. And this is why I'm sure why she identifies a lot with Rashida, is that anything a black woman does is it only happens because either a black woman was done wrong by a black man or they weren't given the tools that they need to succeed. It's never that black women are just bad people. It's never that a black woman, or it's so rare, it's statistically insignificant in their eyes, that a black woman, this is just a bitch that shouldn't have been able to breathe air. That can't exist in their psychology. Now, black men can be ain't shit all day. You know, fly by the night, nutting in these bitches, and then disappearing as a concept. But it can't be like 3 different black men violated her. She's not looking at this bitch is a 3-time loser, and not only does she not know how to select men, but she clearly doesn't know how to manage her pussy. It can't be that. Or even if she would go with that, it's got to be, well, how did she grow up? What was her childhood like? Because somewhere there, it was a single mother that was just left with a baby, and this is just the 1 or 2 saga later result in next generational like result of that. That psychology cannot exist in a functional black community, because that psychology fundamentally does not allow women to take accountability for their actions. They have way too much choice to not have accountability for what they do. And her ideology would not exist in any other community. Faith cannot take that ideology and go to an African family. She can't take that ideology and go. She can't even. She could probably maybe the Caribbean, but even with the Caribbean, she would get checked. She can't. That ideology uniquely can only exist amongst ADO as black men because it's reinforced by white supremacy. This That's what she doesn't understand. That's what she refuses to understand. Because Faith was one of the ones I went and checked. She was one of the main ones talking about the gynocracy doesn't exist. It's not that it's a gynocracy, it's a failed patriarchy. Because in her eyes, and that's how I know she thinks like this, because she can't tell me at any point when the black community was actually a patriarchy and Jim Crow doesn't count because black women only stayed in their place because, quite frankly, black women could die if they operated outside of the black family because of what these white men were on. Had nothing to do with what black men were doing, whether they were doing well or not doing well. So that really doesn't count. But see, so I know this. She sees herself as a perpetual victim. Another thing she stated was, this is where it really got real petty. And this is at the end, where she was like, well, you niggas are always talking on YouTube. Why don't you go change some laws and some shit? You know, why don't you go pull up with other races of men and get some laws changed? I'm gonna tell you, Faith, I'm gonna answer this question, because unlike black women, black men are not traitors. You see, what black women did was black women used white supremacy to basically cut the knees off of black men that already only had one leg to stand on. What you all did was you all pull. I make this statement. I always say this: nobody is taking more from the black woman than the white woman. Nobody is up the ass of the white woman more than the black woman, and you see it till this day. The reality is, black women, even you've heard Jason Black say this, you've heard Professor Black Truth say this. Tariq has kind of alluded to it, although he says it the least. Black women teamed up with, I don't like this bullshit, this color purple bullshit that black men used to whoop your ass. That is a fucking lie. That shit did not happen to the extent that y'all like to let's say that happened. Because this is where a lot of black men as well as black women justify it. But black women basically, because I don't give a fuck what you want to say, you all have never been under the thumb of black men like white women has been under white men. That's bullshit. And this is where that article, black men are the white men of the black community, that shit's a lie. That shit's a lie. In fact, I would argue the opposite is true. That black women are the white men of the black community, to keep it all the way fucking real, because black women have the ideology of white men, if you understand how they think on these type of things. But anyway, what I was saying is, in the 60s and 70s, remember, abortion was legalized in 73. Black women teamed up with white men under the guise of usurping the quote-unquote patriarchy. White women took those resources that were supposed to go to black men, and by therefore proxy black women, and basically took on those resources. And that's one of the biggest things that creates some of the biggest, when people talk about why is the wealth gap so big, what your Tone Talks and your Yvette Carnells won't say is a lot of the wealth gap that, as large as it is, was created by that event. It was created by basically white women absorbing a lot of the advantages that black men were supposed to get, and they absorbed that, and they couldn't absorb that without black women. And now black women are part of why they're the most impoverished. This is what nobody wants to say. Part of why black women today are the most impoverished is because their men got cut off so bad. And economically, black women are, number one, economically, black women are still behind black. Despite all the attacks that black men have, we still economically have more money than you and individually have more money than you. This is why black women are always seen as the fastest growing. You wouldn't be the fastest growing if you all already established. You're the fastest growing because you all have the furthest to come from. And this is not based on you all not being boosted, by the way. You all have been boosted and black men have been basically destroyed, and yet that still stands true. That's a testament to who black men are versus who black women really are as individuals, to keep it all the way real. But my point is, the biggest reason why black women are in so much debt, other than the education shit, is because of that event. Is because white women absorbed a lot of the wealth that black men were supposed to get to create a patriarchy to align us with the rest of the country. And by the way, black women would have benefited from that by proxy, just like how all women benefit from the fruits of their men. This is why when women say, "What have you built?" and Faith didn't say that, Cynthia G said, that shit angers me so much because I know these facts. And I know a lot of the women that say that know what I'm talking about too. This is why this is one of the main reasons why that shit got as big as it got. And BGS has the charts to prove it. That's actually what happened. This is why white women benefit from affirmative action more than any other group. And the con game that white women are always trying to dismantle it, that's a fucking con game. They have been, because white women are seen as a minority and they were never meant to be seen as a minority. Ever. Because they operate because think about it. Outside of a white man, who the fuck can tell a white woman what to do? And depending on what type of man it is, because you got to remember, white people, it's class. So depending on what type of female you are, that shit don't even matter with all white men. Versus you could be a wealthy black man, and today, a white woman with money, you can't tell shit. A white woman that can take care of herself, you can't tell shit. Even a middle-class white woman. Yet a black man that can be Bill Cosby can still be brought down. You can't see, like, white women are out here, and I'm going to get back on track, but white women are out here abusing kids in school. You don't see white women getting stigmatized that maybe white women shouldn't be teachers. That shit is happening all the time. It's like little news tick marks. They don't have the same things in this society that only, like, even with white men, they're still seen as white. So you're talking about inter issues with that. So my point is, white women sold black women a bill of goods because black women always had this I'm better than a black man bullshit going, because that's really what it was. Black women will frame it as, well, we were getting our ass beat, dudes were leaving. They always say that, but then again, they're always, this is why this is where the who black women are choosing comes into play. Black men really don't give a shit about who black women are choosing from I'm mad you're not choosing me. This is why, by the way, and I know I'm jumping around, but I want to come back. I'm bringing it back home. This is why people like MOT and others go after dating coaches so hard. Because really, we're having I did a video on this a while ago. We're having two different conversations. We're talking about some social, when people say, what is this gender war shit? It's not gender warring in my opinion, because I don't have an issue with black women inherently. I deal with black women in my real life, because I choose to be around the ones I want to be around, and this shit is not a problem. Because you know what? When I come up with something with some common sense and logic, they know how to shut the fuck up, unless they got something to actually fucking say. If they got something to say that actually has value, which most of the time they do, otherwise I wouldn't be around them, because I don't deal with dumb broads. I don't deal with dumb females. I can't stand being around dumb females. I just can't. Then it is what it is. But I don't tend to have these problems in real life. Now, I've been overseas. I've been all over the country. So I know this shit exists. But what I'm talking about is the social political issue that black men and black women have that keeps black men and black women from being united to actually pursue shit that benefits all black people. This has to be addressed first. Because there's a lot of underlying things that basically stop us from being united. And this is why shit doesn't get done. This is the main and only reason why I talk about this shit. I don't give a fuck about whose bitches are fucking bitches. But when we come back to the commentary on that, the reason why you have MOT and others that come at them so strongly is because they're butting in the conversation that has nothing to fucking do with them. We're talking about a social political issue. You're talking about how you get bitch issue, and their premise, most of your dating coaches' premise is you wouldn't be talking about this political social side if you could get pussy. So they're butting their head into a conversation. Number one, has nothing to do with them, and number two, they actually have the fucking nerve to actually make some commentary on it and undermine what the fuck we're doing. When you look at people like ARC, C Boogie, all these people, and I'm not, that's who I'm talking about. I'm not trying to start this shit, but I'm saying they are not talking about what the fuck MOT, and us are talking about. But they see black men and black women, and they see a product to be sold, and basically they want to sell the product, so they bring their selling bullshit into some serious shit. And as somebody that's a marketer, I'm not selling shit. This is politics. Now you go. This is why if you look at somebody like Glenn and Cameron, you don't see me really trip about, because Glenn and Cameron will tell, he'll do that too. But the difference with him is he'll tell the truth. He'll tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. He's not gonna sit there and sugarcoat the truth when he does talk about it. So it's fine. That's why. And these dudes always throw rocks, and then they act like, I don't know, why you all are getting so mad. Because number one, you're running interference, and you want to act like you don't know you're doing that. That's the problem. And you're running interference to sell some shit. And I'm not hating on nobody selling nothing, but keep that over there. When we call you, we'll call you. But that's not the conversation that we're having right now. That's my issue. So people try to get this clout, and we're not even really talking about the same thing. Nobody is over here talking about, you got dudes that are married, dudes that got kids, you know, motherfucker, like you got dudes like this idea that it's only niggas talking this shit. It's not, that shit's a lie, man. It's not true. But these dudes are putting themselves in a category of running interference. That's why dudes get so mad. And people, and they know that, but they want to pretend they don't know that. That's all it is. Now, going back, fast forwarding back to all this other bullshit, is the point is black women created those laws. Black women helped put those laws into play by voting those laws in. And yeah, you could argue black men dumbasses went along with it. That's what the other generations have to look and deal with. Hold on one second. Yeah. But anyway, like I was saying before, the problem. Sorry, that fucking fucked up my train of thought. Anyway, like I was saying before, coming all the way back to it, black women basically gave white women a moral push, which basically made white women look like the victims, when in actuality, white women were one of the main, they believe in white supremacy like anybody. They're the main ones basically encouraging black women to abort black babies. And by the way, even when you look at the health that does damaging black women, white women don't care. And you see it. This is why every time you hear black women speak on mainstream, it's always Shahrazad Ali just said it. She said it. She said she said exactly what the manosphere, a lot of manosphere people have been saying, that black women are only given a microphone when it undermines their own group. And the fact that black women don't even see themselves, they see themselves more as women than black. And that's just how a lot of these women think. They can act like they don't think it because they're on different degrees to the shit, but they all kind of rubber band back to that. When you come back and then say, okay, well, black men need to basically create laws to change it, which she's essentially stating, and that's what the UK dude trying to say is, you know what you're doing and you're not going to stop, so you basically declare war. And then this is when she started cackling, and that's what you did. You didn't laugh, you cackled like a fucking witch. And this is where, when black women start talking about, why don't black men protect this? Why don't black men do this? This is the stuff that's going through a lot of black men's mind when you do that. This is why when a black woman's getting her ass beat by another black man, or something is happening like that, dudes just turn off. Because real talk, it's shit like that that's starting to catch up. See, what she doesn't want to say is black men, when black men say black people, they actually think black people. When black women say black people, they actually think black females. And this is the type of stuff that you have to talk through. So now, why are we on YouTube? We're on YouTube because we still have too many black men that are still operate on this mindset that when you say black people, you mean black people. They don't think black men. Black men do not think black men only. Black men first. Black men don't think about black male interests. They've never been trained to do that. So really, YouTube is really just us congregating and having a conversation. No different than what people used to do in the church. Her saying, well, you all need to get off of YouTube and actually change some laws, she might as well be a white man coming in a black church talking about, well, you all need to stop congregating in the church all on this uppity church all the goddamn time, and you all actually need to vote. But not acting like, voter suppression doesn't happen. Not acting like voter polling doesn't happen. The absolute, and this is why Fantastic was talking about, you gotta stop, y'all gotta start talking to reality. It's not about talking to reality. They're not for you. If Sigma was on here, and Sigma always says this shit, they're not your women. And that's really why we're on YouTube. YouTube is about really gathering the evidence and really looking. And number one, it's an easy way to gather. It's about saying they're not your women. They're not. Like when you hear her talk, how she would talk. Look, you cannot, let's be real here. If you look at how she was talking and what she was actually saying, that tit for tat shit, that is not how a woman is going to speak in any other group. At all. That, well, you do it too. You do this. You got me pregnant. No, you can't find, and this is what Faith cannot take that ideology she had that a man got her pregnant. That only applies to ADOS. That does not apply to other women. Because other women is gonna say, why did you sleep with him? So you act like, did he rape you? And this is, see, in her mind, she's trying to say that as men, we're trying to let men off the hook. That's not what we're doing. That's how she sees it, because it's either all your fault or all his fault. She doesn't really believe in the 50-50 responsibility. Not really. Because if she really believed that, then she would believe in removing welfare and all of that. But she had a problem with the welfare. Because the welfare, a woman is just doing what she can to take care of her child. She had no business having the child in the fucking first place. She really didn't. And the reality of the situation is, this is why I'm for removing the right to abort. This is why I'm for removing the right to abort. Because the reality is, these folks will be more sexually responsible. See, if we're gonna play this game of, he need to, this bullshit up. Well, if he nut in her, if he sleeps with her, then he needs to raise the baby, regardless if a woman has it. That's fine. I don't believe you should have a right to get rid of it. And that's actually something that you can actually vote for as a black man. As a black man, if the Republicans stay in office long enough, they will be able to flip enough justices to remove abortion. What about the dudes, all these dudes that have kids? Fuck them. That's on them. The quote-unquote sperm donor class is just going to have to hold that L. Because they're not cool with that, because it reins in their ability to just dip like that. But that's not my problem. That's why, even though technically I don't really care if a woman gets an abortion or not, but from a macro point of view, no. If we can't we're not gonna ever be able to financially just leave kids. Then this culture is never gonna allow you to do that, and you quite frankly can't even see that overseas. Globally, it's not like that. It's not that way like that. There's other ways to deal with that. So it's never gonna go that way. But what it will go to is, you black men could basically dilute the black vote and basically keep the Republicans in to basically restrict abortion. Because by restricting abortion, you really roll back a lot of abilities that women have that have kind of gone against what I call nature, the natural order of things. Now, real talk, you start talking that shit, she'll start, once she understands, you know, what that means, then she'll start all of a sudden not giving a fuck, not being for the child as much. And that's why y'all asked the wrong question. Y'all want to make it about a tit for tat. I would say, so do you believe that a woman should have the right to abort? She says when it comes to the health of the woman. Okay, that's less than 1%, so I'll give you that. But see, that's the bullshit the Democrats say today when it comes to the health of the woman. That's what they say today. That's a political ploy. But for the most part, like only like not even 1% of abortions are due to for the health of the woman. But real fucking talk, yeah. That's how you change some fucking laws. Also, another reason why the laws don't get changed is because men have racial competition. You see, the difference between black men and white men and black women and white women, as I said before, is black women are submissive under white women. Black women don't vote for a black agenda, they vote for a white woman agenda. This is why your Democratic Party is always gassing black women up, talking about, what black women do and black women are key to the party. There is nothing in that party that black women are voting for that they can honestly say is a true black agenda. You will vote for basically emasculation of black men through the LGBT movement. You are voting for black immigrants, which is going to further undermine black men's ability to make money, which is going to undermine the amount of men you're going to have. And by the way, you're creating sexual competition for yourself. These are things that women bitch about later on all the time. Then you're also basically putting more women in the pool to basically wash you out because more folks is going to be a bigger economy, which is going to make you less relevant. Um, yeah, that's what you vote for. And then you're giving white women more and more privileges that you don't ever get to see. Do you see any of this all this Me Too shit, right? All this shit that's happened in the last year. Have you seen any black woman benefit from that? They don't even honestly, they don't even benefit from it when it comes to black men. Have you seen black women have more of a stronger position that they otherwise would have had with black men? In fact, you see the opposite. What you see a lot of black men doing is a lot of black men are just checking the fuck out. And basically, black men's idea of checking out is hopping the fence or going intercultural. Me Too has not helped black women. You see white women being helped, but you ain't seen black women being helped, black women being paid off. It is not benefit. And you damn sure ain't seen black women be able to do some shit with a non-black man. You have not seen black women's position has stayed stagnant. I'm not saying Faith is a Me Too chick. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying how has this being submissive under white women benefiting you? Voting in lockstep with white women. And if you notice, black women never in mainstream media are allowed to say anything that they're not allowed to say. Black women are not allowed to go off script, even on places like Oprah Network. This is why they're always saying the same thing, and there's never no thought, no debate. You can literally tell when they're going off script because even other black women start to look stupid. I was going through some of own the conversation things. And the one time, she wasn't even saying no pro-black male shit. She was just really calling out the sisterhood for what the sisterhood doesn't do for the other sisterhood. Like she was saying, literally, I wish somebody would have told me that about what having a kid would do in a conversation. And she was calling the other women out because, see, with the other women, it's always the man's fault. And she was saying that y'all didn't say shit about shit either. And all the women just didn't like that. Now, they were cool with the transgender chick pretending to be transgender person trying to pretend to be a woman, but that they wanted to shut it off. It was funny, man. Even it was Monica and it was another celebrity, I forget her name. She was saying some real shit. It's obvious. And it's always the same script, even with Faith. Faith's script is a woman can't be a single mother without dudes. See, she is still in 2020 going along with the white supremacist talking point. And it is a white supremacist talking point that black men just abandon their children. So my question I ask you is, what in you, if black men are really just abandoning their children, if that's really what's going on, at what point do you become, at what point do you say that's what you want to happen if you're dealing with a group of men? If it's really that black men abandon their children, then at that point, you dealing with black men and having children with black men is pretty much a sign that you don't really want a father in your child's life. Because by definition, you would stop choosing something that's going to give you a consistent result. Because this is something that black women been saying for fucking 40 years. That black men just abandon their children. Until the stats came out that black men actually are around their children a lot more, not only than what gets said, but we're actually better about being in our kids' lives than a lot of other races of men. And by the way, single motherhood is at 50% with white women. And you don't hear the narrative, you never hear the narrative that white men abandon their children. Even though the laws, the welfare laws were initially created because white men were abandoning their children. Because when the economy is down, if they can't take care of family, they're either shooting themselves or they're out. Those laws are never created. These laws were never created because of what black people did. In fact, black people didn't get access to welfare at first. And see, when we were getting access, the idea was the man couldn't be in a home. So on the one hand, we're going to talk about the man could be in a home because that's what it took to get welfare. But now we want to say, see, this is where the bullshit comes. This is where the bullshit comes. See, in that original video that he did with the dark skinned delegation, Shirley was talking about it's the government's fault, right? So it's the government's fault because the government creates a situation where if a man can't be in a home, you can't get welfare without a man being in a home, or you can't get Section 8. And black women benefit from Section 8 a hell of a lot more monetarily than they benefit from actually welfare and food stamps. A lot of black women get equivalent of what, 8, they get almost what, 8, let's say 7, let's do an average number, let's average it out to like 650, 7. 700, let's let's call it, let's say, let's say 700. 700 times 12 is 84. They get equivalent of $8,400. If you're in Section 8, you get $8,400 a year, basically in your rent. Then you turn around and then you get taxes back. And I'm gonna do a video one day where we're really gonna go and talk about all the benefits that a woman in this situation gets, because she likes to say that women are impoverished and they're on their last leg. That's true, but that's not as true. See, that's not the whole story. That's not the whole narrative. Because trust me, I know about Section 8. My mom has been on it. And I can tell you, it's not the shit she's talking about. It really isn't. And that shit varies from state to state because projects is a little bit different than Section 8. It's a lot of variability, but we never tell the honest truth about that. But anyway, going back, Shirley stated that it's the government's fault and then the government keeps people out of home. But now you hear Faith saying that it's just black men abandoning the children and black men are abandoning the kids, and that's why these women go to Section 8 because they got abandoned. Now see, this is where that shit becomes absolute bullshit. When a woman says abandoned, she's a fucking liar. Because dudes are not having babies with motherfuckers and just disappearing in the heat of the night. That's what abandon actually means. Also, what I would say is, you, in my opinion, cannot even make that claim unless you actually got that man's commitment in the first place. You don't get to say, you got me pregnant when you, as if, because you let somebody like Faith tells it, Black and Rashida, black women want a family. Black women don't do anything that doesn't fuck up their ability to actually have a family. They don't try to have babies on the slick. They don't try to go off of birth control. Paternity fraud just doesn't exist, even though it could be, it's probably more than 25% of all the black children that are being born even today. None of that shit happens. It's just none of the shit where, she's asking not to wear a condom, this baby fever, none of that shit happens. It's all their victims. They didn't do anything. They want to do the right thing. They want to do the right thing. All of that. All of that. That's their argument. So when they use the term abandonment, they're trying to act like, and Rashida said this outright. She's saying the dudes are having second thought. They see the baby, and then they say, I'm going to go get a pack of cigarettes. Let Rashida and Faith tell it. That's what's going on. All you have to do to kill that argument is look at who they choose and ask yourself, can I reasonably say that this woman reasonably shouldn't know that this guy wouldn't be a good father? And then you have to ask yourself this question. Do women actually mate select based on fatherhood, or do they mate select based on sexual genetic preference? We know what the answer is, and we know the answer is a lot more for black women than other races of women. Black women select for fatherhood, I would argue, less than any other women in the United States of America. The qualities that exemplify what a good father would be, especially in this modern era, Obsidian's whole fucking platform is based on this bullshit, right? But there's other platforms too. Minister Jab, there's other platforms too. We know that. That's obvious. That women have gone out of their way to say this. I select this. I date D-boys. I do of all ages. Like we have a record, a decade record. Even your women and bitch Chrissy, Pear, they all the criteria they're selected has nothing to do with with fatherhood. Now, people will try to flip it, say, well, don't black men do this? No. Black men have a clear delineation between bitches they want to fuck and bitches they actually want to raise, have a family with. Even skulldugger's black men can tell the difference. If you ask a black man who are you willing to commit to, that's going to be a very big difference than who you're actually willing to sleep with no commitment. Because men and women are not the same. But women don't think that way. Women like to have the sexual piece, and then they try to build everything up later. Everything else is an after the fact. We're going to create that after. It's like saying, I want to build a house. Oh, by the way, I need this foundation. Let's pour cement under it and we'll make it work. And what happens is, because it's a double mating strategy, that now women come back in their 30s, trying to deal with dudes that are more established, not as much testosterone as they used to have, which means they don't have the overflow of it. So they're not operating on thirst. So you're basically a downward slope. I'm an upward slope. And then this is what you're saying. And then you actually want to sell the story of motherfuckers supposed to take care of your baggage, all of that bullshit. This is the game that we play. But then people want to talk. And by the way, this abandonment shit, black men are the biggest stepfathers. Were the biggest stepfathers. Nobody was doing the stepfather job more than we were. So this idea that collectively black men just abandon their kids, that is such a spit in the face. Black men do more raising of kids. I'm going to say this and I'm going to say this. There is no other race of men. This is not necessarily a compliment, but it's something I can use as facts. There is no other race of men on this motherfucking planet, I would argue, in the history, as far as volunteering to do this by our own free will, in the history of this planet, there's no other ethnic group that has volunteered to individually raise children that are not his, that do not belong to him, more than black African American men. I would challenge you to find any other group and not know it takes a fucking village bullshit. None of that. I'm talking about individually dudes taking women of kids that are not his. Now that shit doesn't happen anymore because that shit is dying out. But the reality is nobody can hold that, whether you call it an L or hold that man or one in black men. So how in the living fuck can you simultaneously say that the men that apparently abandon their children? Because see, shit that Faith was saying, that's the type of shit they tell to the white man, to the white woman when they get on the mainstream media. These are the lies that they tell. How can you say that the same men that abandon their kids are going to be the same group of men they're going to actually be willing to take care of kids that are not his to be with you? That doesn't fit. Well, they would say it's not the same type, it's not the same men. It's different men in different communities. Okay, fair enough. So why is it that the pattern is you choose this group of men over this group of men? You're crying about, You're crying about that you're abandoned, that your kids get abandoned. By the way, you care about what's in the best interest of the child, right? That's what you said. Okay. So with that in mind, because when she says that, what she's essentially saying is that's how most black women think. Okay, so that's there. So if you know that a certain group of men are most likely going to abandon children, or you have that in your mind because that's been imprinted in you, because that shit's been passed down, right? Then why is it that you choose to have their baby? Your right to abort and your right to contraceptive gives you the right to enjoy the sexual prowess of, let's call, a ain't shit nigga, because that's who they say they are after the fact, right? Without having his child. So why is it that you want to have their baby and then turn around and then try to remix it and get another dude? Get another dude. Why don't you just choose the other dude first? This is where the improvement, self-improvement stuff comes in, that he's lame, that he's not established, he doesn't have money. Okay, if it's money, then these other dudes clearly don't have money because you're on welfare. Because if they had money, the child support system will basically extract what's needed. So come on, man. You know, when you actually look at this stuff from an arbitrarily standpoint, and you make it sound like you're being assigned mates when we know you have free choice. We know you have choice to choose who you want to choose. So what are we really talking about? It can't be that you're just like a piece of paper being swept up in the wind and you're just landing on the ground with a baby in a fucked up situation. No, that's not what's going on. What's going on is you all have a mating strategy. And women, like, if you know that you don't have the economics to take care of a kid, I mean, hell, if we're going to talk about a strong, independent black woman, as far as I'm concerned, if a black woman doesn't have the economics necessary to take care of a child, the fuck you doing having somebody's baby anyway? If you know you're going to be on welfare, because see, again, you let faith tell it, welfare is the last resort. Ain't no black women actually setting the game up so they can get on welfare. And that may be true today because welfare has been dialed back. But back in the 90s, in the 2000s, the early 2000s, there's a 17-year span, really, before that, really. But, you got women's, man, welfare plus Section 8? You doing hair? Now, I'm not somebody, I know you white people over embellish the Cadillac Queen shit, but come on, man. Let's be honest. Like, I can tell you, if I actually calculate, I can tell you in my own situation, my own familiar situation, some shit I done seen. So, I mean, the point is you're making a choice. So when you talk about you've been abandoned or people have been abandoned, that's not true. That's not as true as what people are saying. That story goes a lot deeper than what women are trying to have with it. And this is why it becomes this childish tit for tat bullshit. Well, if this is, and that's when you know somebody's getting immature. Because when black men are saying something, everything we say, even though I don't map it out they don't map it out as much as I've mapped it out, this is all behind what we're saying. Versus with them, it's just a me too thing. Me too, or you too. Black women are the creators of Me Too and the creators of You Too. You do it too. You do it too. Because like a child, you don't actually map this shit out. You just have an emotional response. And all this ideology that you thinking is this. Are you serious? And this is a big reason why y'all are where you are. And this is a big reason why dudes are where they are. Like most dudes are not, you're right. Faith is right. Most dudes are not going to get on YouTube and bitch and cry. What most dudes are going to do is just opt the fuck out. And here's the thing. Most dudes are not going to opt the fuck out in your face because it's not, see, just like how white people can do business and they can live their life without ever interacting with a black person. Black people, it's very rare, it's very hard for black people to do anything in this country without interacting with a white person. It's the same thing with black men versus black women. Now, not really, because black women have to interact with black men to a certain extent, but it's less than what, it's less than the sense of what black people have to interact with white people. But black men have to interact with black women at some level, whether it's small or large, but at some little level. It doesn't have to be sexual. It's a lot of different things, because we got black women in our family, right? So a lot of black men, they're operating like double agents, where it's kind of like how with white people, they choose not to talk about politics, because if you talk about politics, that just blows everything up. This is our internal politic. Because if we choose to talk about this, all of a sudden the conversations change. So most dudes, they just choose to just be doing shit in plain sight. They do them. And if you bring it up, they do what they can. They make sure that nobody has the ability to F with their economics. And then they basically do the same thing. Well, are you jealous? Are you insecure? Why are you bringing this up? Why does this matter? Oh, well, you deal, even though I've seen you with black women, I see you, why are you with this white bitch? I'm like, well, bitch, who the fuck are you? Second, because you're coming to me. Second of all, what would I look like walking up to you? Pause. I told a female this. I said, pause for a second. So you're with a non-black man. I wouldn't, because I love black men. I don't care. Let's say you were with a non-black man, and I walk up to you, and I say, what you doing with this motherfucker? The first thing you gonna do is, number one, you don't tell me what to do. Number two, who is you? Number three is none of your business. These are the thoughts you're gonna have and probably respond to. Am I correct? Probably. Okay, pretend you're saying that to yourself. Seriously. But other than that, and if that shit gets too heavy, dudes just do what Clutch and other dudes do. They get away from black women as much as they can, or they deal with sisters that are in the more class-based mentality anyway. Because folks act, it is what that shit can be managed. That's what dudes do. They don't get on YouTube. What they do is they opt out. They see us on YouTube, we're having a conversation, and that's a courtesy, even though the conversation we're having is for our entertainment and for us first. But the reality of the situation is most dudes don't get on YouTube. They just opt out. They don't talk to you. They just say, this isn't my preference. Why did I bring it back to that? Because that's where the colorism comes in. That's where the crying and whining about colorism, darkism, all that bullshit comes in. You all want to frame it that black men are practicing racism against black women. This is how you are framing it. Even though I asked a direct question of, is colorism the most important issue of the black community? They never said what was more important issues, by the way. I asked that on that original video. And they said no, it wasn't, even though you couldn't believe it, the way they act. But the point is, all this shit I just said, all this bullshit, all this ring around the rosy Candyland Road bullshit I done said this whole hour comes back to this one point. Black men don't get on YouTube. Most black men, 95% of black men that feel this way, they just opt the fuck out. They deal with y'all where they got to deal with y'all. If one of these chicks is acting like they got some sense, they deal with them. If not, they not. And then they just say, I have a preference to not deal with you. I have a preference for you not to be the priority, for me not to be exclusive. Because most dudes look at sex. See, also, women don't ever think about sexual access. If you're a black man, then a black woman, if you can get easier sexual access for non-black women than you can for black women, why would you try harder for black women? Unless you're really trying to have a kid and that's important for you to have a kid with a black woman. What's the point? That wouldn't make any sense. But for them, they act like you're supposed to be excluded. So my overall point is really this. What they come back and they want to say is colorism, is black men, giving them all these fucking biases and all of that. They want to make it like we are on the media creating those biases, number one. Black women validate those biases more than anybody does. Those shows that show black women acting like whores, acting like bed wenches, acting like they got attitudes. Those are shows that black women support more than anybody else. They support that image. Black men do not support that image. The only thing you can tag us with is hip hop. And even still, most of them dudes ain't choosing those chicks anyway. This goes back to what Mr. Research used to say about the music black men used to make about black women with R&B. So my overall point is check yourself first, but also all this other stuff that I talked about. This is what is in the cards. This is the foundation, not that crap that you talk about. Well, we just coming out the gate or coming out the womb just saying I prefer not to deal with dark. That's not what it is. It's the software, not the hardware. The only reason why black men even still deal with y'all to this extent is because they can't really find the hardware nowhere else. That's changing, and you see that mentality is changing. So when we always come back to black women a universal victim because of colorism or because of the myth of white womanhood or because the white woman is the black woman have an axe to grind or has an inferiority complex to a white woman or a non-black woman, that is not black men's problem. Just like how it wouldn't be your job to validate our ego because of how we feel about our position in this country versus a white man. It wouldn't be your job to build our ego up. It'd be our job to deal with it. Now somebody would say, well, that's because you're a man. Well, at the end of the day, you feeling the need to validate a female is necessary as how much a woman is on your program. So then I would ask you all, you how much of these women are actually on our program? Like seriously, how much of these women are on our program? Yeah, there's some that are, but outside of some, what about the rest? They operate like their own group, and they always have. That's the thing. They always have. That's not some new shit. You can see the Shahrazad Ali just had a speaking thing that she did, and you see how folks are responding to that. She's not in the manosphere. This is some shit that's consistent with her entire work, but that shit gets buried. Why? Because she's speaking against doctrine. This is why dudes are talking about non-American black women. They're telling you the culture's the problem. And faith exemplified pretty much everything wrong with black women. Faith pretty much exemplified that shit. And they don't actually see that it's an issue. That's why a lot of these dudes like Smooth, dudes like Keith, they're saying, I don't even know why you talk to these females. Well, to answer y'all questions, we do it for our own entertainment at this point. But this is why Marco was talking about. Well, why don't you just get some random ladies? Like, cause we got people like that thinking, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong when they say what they say. It's just this is entertainment. I want to see up. Is it still like it? Yep, they're still like that. So anyway, that's what it is. I just wanted to hang out with y'all a little bit, waiting for a package. Well, the problem, y'all, is you got women that are really trying to act like there's no problem. And honestly, if there's, this is why I always say, you want to cut conversations off quick, just ask them, do you believe that gynocracy exists? If they say no, then there's really no point having another conversation. They're in that category. You're right. It is a dance. Yeah, Casper. They're not trying to reach nobody. And that's where that cackling that she did happened at the end. Because she wanted to say, I'm down. And I'm like, and this is how insidious what she's doing, what she did was. She doesn't understand that she is basically paving the way for how black men are going to treat black women in the next generation. So when you look at these millennials, don't then turn around and say, why are these little black boys not fucking with these little black girls? Because it's bitches like you that they saw and they're like, I'm out. It's like Shark Tank. I'm out. That's how, this is what these women don't understand. This is a big reason why the stepdaddy market don't exist, because they saw how people in the last generation treat. They don't think that way. They do shit today, not understanding how that's going to affect shit tomorrow. And then they talk about things today as if nothing happened in the past to pave the way. Because at the end of the day, she want to say you can have because the thing too is she want to say you can have your preferences, but I'm tired of you bashing black women. Okay, so first of all, we're gonna do what the fuck we want to do regard. Just like how you want to lie, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? Nothing. You just go get on here, cry colors like these women do, and y'all look goofy. That's the only thing y'all gonna do. Here's the funny thing. There is nothing. If I would have really asked Faith, okay, so let's say I go with you and I'm bashing black women. What the fuck are you gonna do about it? What the fuck are black women gonna do about it? Since that's how you feel that people are bashing black women, what are you really gonna do about it? You're not gonna do nothing. Because at the end of the day, our job is not to, we're not trying to communicate with you all. We're trying to talk to other brothers. Now, brothers to go listen to what we say regardless. If they feel that we're bashing black women, then that just means they ain't dealt with y'all long enough to actually get fucked over. Because let me tell you something. The biggest, the biggest promoter of things like SYSBM and shit like that is black women. If you would have shut down SYSBM right now and dudes stop talking, black female fuckery still gonna be what it's gonna be. And like BGS said, the gates are down. Now that the gates are down, you're gonna make a choice. You're gonna make a choice. We're not even gonna go on the fact that, women been throwing men under the bus for decades now. None of that shit matters. All that shit is legit. See what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, the point to what I just said is black women have basically already betrayed black men. Black men are already completely fucked as a whole, as an entire group. There's really nothing else that black women can honestly do that they already have not done. Some woman, if she wants to be real insidious, and I won't put this on Faith because she says she don't believe in abortion, is they would say we'll abort black boys. Okay. Okay. I mean, if you do that, then that means all you're doing is pushing black men to deal with non-American black women in the first place, if that's what they need to do. So you're just taking yourself off the market. You make it sound like we need you to appropriate. Like the black race can't continue unless black women continue. I mean, all that'll do is create a reputation that a lot of black women have such a hatred for black men that, they're doing that. And you already dealing with paternity fraud. Also, you doing that ain't gonna do nothing to help these blacks. Fine. And then you have all these black little girls that ain't got nothing, nobody, no man, and then motherfuckers gonna lie in 20, 30 years about that too. But that's not helping you because you're just telling dudes to not fuck with you. That's all you're doing. You're putting gasoline on that fire. Other than that, what can you really do? You can't, because you can't force nobody to deal with you. You can't force somebody to be with you. You can't force that. And I said this before and I'll say it again. The problem that black women have, when you hear that darkism shit, that colorism shit, most of the time it's other dark-skinned people that's perpetuating that shit, number one. And number two, the problem that they have is choice. Black women have a problem that black men have the right to choose. They don't believe it. And one thing that I would say to Faith too is I would say, look, you don't understand that you are the biggest representative, one of the bigger representatives of everything we're talking about we have a problem with. That tit for tat bullshit, that childish bullshit, that you bring in what other niggas did to a relationship bullshit. Dudes are not putting up with that shit no more. They're not. And it's not like all that shit is wrapped up in a good looking package. Physically, it usually isn't. Because all of that physically is a representation of all of that disrespect to black men. Just the black woman and how she even gets fat and everything is a walking disrespect to the black man. Because that's where it comes from. What do I need to stay fit for? These niggas ain't shit. What's up, Roastmaster? So that's what it is. But they can't do anything anymore. They've already, everything you can done, you have done. We're pretty much at rock bottom now. We're at rock bottom. So the reality is now that we're at rock bottom and the bar is so low, that's part of the gate being down. It's just a matter of people realizing it. That's all it is. So anyway, I appreciate that. These are my yeah. Anyway, this is Edward signing off. Peace.